studios in New York City.
My first old age pensioner.
Nice dialogue, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. It was a good script.
Good script. Who wrote the script?
Sensitive. The guy, Paul Andrew Williams, who directed it.
Yeah, wrote it and directed it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's the significance of the song?
I guess the significance of the song is that people are hearing it, kind of other than him, other than her. He's singing. I guess it's symbolic, you know, that he kind of finally understands that by just being nasty to everybody other than her, he's moving away from like the love, harmony and beauty within himself, you know. So when he sings, obviously it's for her, but it's being listened to by everybody.
What was your relationship with your father?
My relationship with my father was exactly like that. My dad was in the Merchant Navy. In World War II, he was torpedoed 3 times. When the war finished, he came home, he was grey. And the grace, I think, had been kind of eroded from him.
The grace?
Yes, he had a natural grace. He was a very good-looking guy, and he was funny.
And war took its toll.
Yeah. And I think it took its toll on a lot of men of that generation, you know, because I think it sort of struck me it's rather unnatural for man to kill another man, you know, and whether you do it or whether you see it, it takes its toll on you. And it was so... There's a lot of boys who grew up without being hugged by their dad, without being touched by their dad. And that was my experience, you know. So I didn't really base it on my dad, but I thought if I get in trouble, I'll think about Tom. I'll think what Tom would have done. And so in that scene, it was kind of easy because I was the father and the son, you know.
Yeah. And until his death, did you hear him say it?
There was one thing, there's only really one thing. The great joy of my life was that I had them for like the first 25 years of my fame, so I was able to really give them and show them and let them know what they'd done for me, as it were. And he never really praised me, he never complimented me, he never talked about what I was doing. But in my kind of middle years when I was up against it, and I was kind of selling things to, you know, get money for the week, and I was asked to go to Rome to meet some people, and they gave me a ticket. And I went down to see my folks and to tell them I'm going to be away for a couple of weeks, I'm going to Rome. My mother said, "Oh, you got a job?" I said, "Well, I haven't got a job, but I've got an interview and I've got a ticket." Oh, I said, "It's a cheap ticket, but, you know, it's a good trip." And my mother later told me that when I left, my dad said, "Listen, Ethel, get some money out the bank. He shouldn't be travelling up the back."
Put him up front.
Yeah. So that was
love.
the only... Yes.
That's love.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. So that was very heartwarming for me. I mean, it was near the end of his life, but at least I had that knowledge.
It is such fundamental narrative of certainly father-sons, I think. I'm not sure if it's the same with daughters. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was an only child, so I had the benefit of a washing of love for me. Right. And I'm sure it shaped me in some way. But I've heard this story 1,000 times.
Yeah. 1,000
times.
Yeah, sure.
You know, my father, I knew he loved me, but he didn't tell me.
Yeah.
I knew he cared, but I didn't feel it. I knew, you know. Now, some of it is men get caught up in their work, and they, you know, and women as well, you know, especially when more and more women in the workforce. But you would think that at some point we'd all get wiser. but it goes every generation.
My friends who are fathers, make me rather kind of envious, because I see men of my generation being wonderful with their sons. And
Yes.
I'm mindful of how wonderful it must be, and I'm mindful of how I would have been had I had the love of a father.
Yeah.
But I had more than enough for my mother,
Right.
because, you know, behind every successful man, they say, is a forceful woman, which was certainly the case in my case. But I think that generation, I get it a lot when I go out and I do little talks with the audience after the movie. I get so many men say that. And I think it was a kind of generation thing, that it was somehow sissy to kind of show your emotions in some way, you know.
Yeah. I mean, and it's, you know, that's the absurdity of it all, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, it's strength to be able to show your emotions.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
But there's not a lot of guys who would contribute to that.
what wouldn't you do over?
What wouldn't I do? I wouldn't have turned down Camelot.
Yeah, of course not. Yes.
But I always say,
Yeah, but your career, you don't have anything to argue about with your career, do you?
no. I always say, I try anything once except incest and Morris dancing, you know.
You mean Arthur Mary dancing? What are you talking about?
No,
No, what?
Morris dancing.
Oh, Morris
you know
dancing.
that.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
With the handkerchief.
Yes.
And I have. I've kind of, so I mean, there's nothing I wouldn't have done, really. I mean, even my mistakes, even the hard times, I've really benefited from, you know. My mother used to say, these things are sent to try us. And I didn't understand it for a long time. But when I saw her overcome, live through troubles, she was kind of empowered by it, you know.
What have been the hardest times?
Oh, I think bringing up 5 kids
Yeah.
on £12 a week, cooking 3 meals a day every day, doing all the housework, laundry.
When did you do this?
No, her.
Oh, her. Yeah, I thought. Yes.
Going out and being a barmaid between children, you know, it was
Yeah.
a tough life.
Yeah.
I didn't have a tough life. When I went to drama school, I was poor, so I couldn't work and go to drama school. So I had to win a scholarship. And so I won a scholarship. They gave me free training, but they also gave me £8 a month to live on. So I was quite hungry in those days. And there was a rumour amongst the girls at the drama school, not completely untrue, but the stamp was anybody's for a bowl of soup and a boiled egg. And,
Give the boy soup and he'll give you love.
Absolutely.
Is that what it was?
Absolutely. Feed him and he's yours.
Do what you want.
Absolutely.
Nothing wrong with that.
Give him enough to keep him
There's
erect.
nothing wrong with that, is it?
No, I don't think so.
So, but was acting the only thing you ever wanted to do?
Yeah.
How did you know?
I saw Gary Cooper when I was 4.
Oh, man, I love Gary
I saw Beaugest. My mother
Yeah.
took me when I was 4 years old. That was my first movie.
There it is.
Who better to mould your life on, you know?
Very classic look.
God, but he was a prince, wasn't he?
Yeah.
There was a kind of an otherness about him, you know.
A what?
A prince. There was an otherness.
An otherness, yes.
An otherness.
An
you know.
otherness,
There was
yeah, understood.
something, he kind of embodied some kind of transcendence, Coop, you know.
Yeah.
And as he was from kind of English stock,
Yeah.
as soon as I got to be about 12 or 13, I was mature and I was crazy about him. And then I saw Marlon, you know.
Yeah, but what is it about Marlon? He just took it to another place?
Yeah, he was just the best cinema actor that ever lived, you know. And
Still is? I mean...
yeah.
In other words, you look back at what he did on film and you can't find anybody did it better.
No, I can't think of anybody who had that variation and that riveting and that kind of, you had to look at him, that presence, the male beauty of the young Marlon.
But yeah, exactly. I mean, I had, as you know, I had the good fortune to know him reasonably well, and he was fascinating to me. I could never lure him to the table to talk, but actors only will understand this because you can see in what he's doing. You know, there's the magic about him, the way, the whole thing, the voice, the look, but it was also, it had to do with some internal skills he had, yes, that he trained.
I talked to him on the set, and on the first day, he was travelling with two girls. You know, they were rather beautiful. They were sort of Filipino or something.
Yeah,
and
right.
he came up to me and he said, "See those two girls?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "They want your." I said, "What about your?" "No, they've had mine." So I was very impressed by somebody that I recognized the greatness of him, that he was so modest as to be present with anybody, you know.
Right.
And so I asked him, when I got to know him a little bit better, I said to him, "What is all this crap, you know what I mean, that you bring a box in and you say, oh, that's me, and, you know, I'll be over there, kind of, why do you do this kind of stuff?" And he told me, he said that when he first starts a movie, his first day, he said, "I invest myself in the take. And if the director asks me to do another one, I don't try after that." So it's Marlon, right?
Right.
I've got it from Marlon's mouth, you know. So I'm thinking, yeah, I understand what he means. I invest myself in a take. That's what I do. I invest myself in a take. I'm empty, but I'm not vacant. I'm present, but I'm empty. And that's what I consider investing myself in a take.
Yeah.
So when I was with Marlon, when I was talking to Marlon, I'd cough and a spit on screen with him. But the 12 days I spent with him on set with him was some of the best, most rich experiences I've had, really. Because it kind of reassured me that what I'd been trying for all these years was I was on the right path.
Exactly, on the right path. I was just thinking that. You know, you can be. I know. You know, you can come away with that saying, I'm getting somewhere. I know I'm on the right path. You know, I know I can see how it goes from here to here to here to here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but he was talking about that part of us that's already perfect. You know. So seeking is a movement away from it, you know. So Marlon was about being, he was kind of operating with the energy of presence, you know. And that's what I'd learned, what I'd picked up, you know, during my time in the East, you know. But he was
What was that time in the East about?
It was about being forgotten at the end of the 60s. It was about the phone never ringing and just being dumped. Like when the 60s ended, I kind of ended with it.
You were how old then?
I was 32, 33. I was still good looking. I was still in good shape, you know what I mean?
Yes.
And the phone just stopped ringing. And there was no real reason except that I was so identified with the 60s. That when it ended, I kind of ended with it. I'd call my agent, I'd say, "I've heard about this great script." "Oh yeah, they're looking for a young Terence Stamp."
I'm 32.
Yes, I'm young. And rather than face the day-to-day, moment-to-moment disappointment of the phone not ringing, I travelled. And when I hit India, I thought, wow, this is okay. Can pick up a few things here.
And so you just traveled and learned and absorbed and drank deeply of the experience.
Yeah, and when the call came, I'd somehow transformed from, psychologically, I no longer thought of myself as a leading man. I thought of myself as an actor.
As a character actor, or
Yeah,
just a
character actor.
Yeah.
And that made me fearless. So
Fearless.
Fearless. So I could do anything. There was nothing I couldn't do.
Yeah.
Once I'd given up the idea of this persona, you know, the modern.
I know people who couldn't do that, and their career suffered. You know,
Yeah.
they couldn't accept
Yeah.
the idea of themselves
Yeah.
as not the leading man, as not getting the woman,
Yeah.
as not, you know.
A friend of mine, an old teacher of mine at drama school, is a wonderful actor. He worked with Cary Grant in The Grass is Greener.
Yeah.
And I had coffee with him recently, and I said, did you have any chats with Cary Grant? Because he was somebody I loved, I never met.
Right.
And he said, yeah. He said, I had lots of chats with him in the wagon between takes. And I said to him, when are you going to retire? I said, what did he say? He said, when I can't get the girl.
Yes, you can hear the Cary Grant.
And I thought,
I can't get the girl.
I never get the girl. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't retire when I can't get the girl. I haven't got the girl since '66, you know. I haven't got the girl since Julie Christie, you know.
And that's what he said.
Yeah, that's what he said. But I can go on forever, you know what I mean? I mean, I'm doing a thing for Tim Burton. It's like a cough and a spit. It's like 3 days.
Yeah.
But it's with Amy Edwards. It's with
Yeah.
Christoph Waltz. It's with Tim
God.
Burton. It's in Vancouver, you know, the gold
just
grey
go.
of
Yeah.
sunlight, you know. I'm a performer, you know. I like to be in a troupe.
So what director has been good for you?
Well, Ustinov discovered me,
Yeah.
and he was a great man as well as a great genius.
Right.
Hey, first Hollywood movie,
Yeah.
William Wyler,
Not bad. Not bad.
best director ever lived. Every film he made was artistic and critical success, except the last one. That's when he didn't get the girl. That's when he stopped.
Yeah.
So for a young actor, for a 23-year-old actor, to work with Wyler
Yeah.
doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah. And you learn.
You learn everything, really. And then, of course, before and after Fellini, you know, going to Rome to be the first leading man to play, English leading man, to work with Maestro, you know.
What do you remember of him?
I remember him loving me, and the price
Loving.
was he loved me.
Yeah.
I got off the plane, he looked at me,
He said.
was love.
He said love. Yeah.
Terencino francobollo, come stai? And the price was you had to love him, but that wasn't hard.
Yeah.
And I remember him under the camera, in the close-up, under the camera, squeezing my knee, giving me his energy, you know, giving me the Fellini power, you know, looking in my eyes. So
And that's genius.
yeah. That's the man who loves actors, you know.
Yeah. You can tell the difference, can't you? If the director loves actors.
Oh, sure. He was never in a tent looking at a video with a horn, you know.
Yeah.
He was under the camera.
Knew what he wanted.
Yeah.
And
when
knew,
he got
and
it,
knew when he got it. Yeah.
take one, we're in the wrong
I got
place, you know.
So he was as good as it is.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But that was the 60s, too.
yes, but also he introduced me. He introduced me to Piero Tosi. He introduced me to Contessa Vanda Scaravelli, who taught me yoga. He took me to lunch with Krishnamurti.
Yeah.
You know, I became a vegetarian. I became vegetarian in '68 after meeting Krishnamurti. I started doing breathing. I started doing yoga, you know. And I came back from Rome different. And then I got the job with Pasolini, and Pasolini would film me. He filmed me when I wasn't looking. And of course, you know, I'm the eye that never sleeps. I saw him after a few days. What's he doing, you know? And I realized he didn't want what I did. He wanted what I was. So that was another incredible moment for me.
He wanted what I was.
Yeah, so I thought, okay. That's when I started going into the shot empty, you know. Because I thought, if he wants what I am, the more I'm in amness, you know, the better he's going to like it. And as it was a part without words, it was a kind of easy introduction to be present in the present. You know.
I've asked this often because I'm curious about it.
Yeah.
What is it about acting that makes it good at its best? What happens?
What happens is that between action and cut, you're tethered to the best of yourself. You're tethered to just the awareness that's before. It's what thought comes from. It's what emotions come from. It's pre-thought. It's pre-emotions. It's just a kind of a silence. It's a quiet which contains it's lacking nothing, but nothing is in excess, you know. And there's a kind of subtlety of vibration that comes from that quiet, and it's different from the vibration of thinking things through. And it's only my opinion, Charles.
It's an important opinion.
But the camera seems to love that. And the camera conveys it to the audience. And it reminds the audience of what in them that is looking, of what in them that is listening, you know. So there's an empathy that comes with non-separation, you know. You don't feel separate. What's separate when you're watching a great actor on screen, you know? You're not separate.
You're connected.
You're joined.
You're connected.
And I think that's what moves me. When I was first going to cinema, there were actors that moved me, and I strove to be one of those kind of actors. So that's what I believe. I'm not saying that happens often. It happens sometimes. But when it happens, there's a feeling of joy, you know.
But the question then becomes, why does it happen when it happens?
Well, that's the unquestionable, you know. That's the mystery of life, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's the kind of self-illumination of consciousness, you know, that you can't escape from. I mean, it's always there. That's the reassuring thing. So it makes death the price of having been individual.
Yeah.
You know?
What is it about you that makes women crazy?
I wish I knew. They always expect me to look like I look on the screen, and I always let them down, you know.
No, but I mean, think of the Bardot. I mean, the list that I read.
Yeah.
Come on, tell me.
Well, I don't know. I genuinely
don't know.
No,
you
I
just
really.
know. But you know what I think it is? I mean, I think it's partly your physical attractiveness, intelligence, and some sense of being connected to the moment. You know, living in the moment.
Well, yes, and that I guess my first awareness of that. I guess when I see a woman whose beauty I'm taken by.
Yeah.
When I'm unaware, it's really noticeable. I say, I let the unawareness remind me to be aware, you know, because I don't. For a young man, you know, I mean, it was the most exciting thing in my life was girls, you know.
Girls.
Yeah. And as I was a youth, after the pill and before AIDS,
it
was a good moment to be interested in girls.
And you knew some of the best ones.
I think so.
Thank you for coming.
Oh.
My pleasure.
Time flies when you're having a good time, right, Charles?
Zahid Doueri is here. He is a French-Lebanese filmmaker. His new movie focuses on a successful Arab doctor who learns that his wife was involved in a suicide bombing. Here is the trailer for the attack.
تجوزيني؟
Focus Features is interested in.
Yeah.
And they saw your previous films and they were interested if you want to look at it. So I said, what is it about? So Christina told me briefly what's the story.
Christina's the agent.
The older agent, yes. Right. And she said, I said, what's the story about? She told me a little bit. I said, look, I'm not interested in the Middle East right now. I've been living in Beirut for a few years and I'm a little bit tired of it. I do not want to deal with this issue anymore. It's an overwhelming issue. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict, the Hezbollah, Israeli, everything, I'm trying to take a little break from it. She says, why don't you read it and then decide? I've never heard of the author first, Yasmina Khadra,
right.
Never. So she FedExed me the book, I read it at a beach coffee, very trashy coffee in Beirut, and I really was so glued to it. So I called her, and she says, come to New York. So I come and I sit with James Schamus, and I was actually very surprised why an American producer, a studio, would want to do a film like this. You know, the film has no American actors. It's not an American story. It's not like Hurt Locker where, you know, they go there. All in Hebrew, in Arabic, no stars, about a very thorny subject. And James' answer is very simple. He says, I do care about the subject.
James Schamus.
Yes. Yeah. He said, I do care about this subject a lot. And he looked at me and he says, would you consider Tom Hanks to play the role? I said, why not? But in which language would he speak? He said, just think about it. And I flew back home and I thought about it. And I called him and I said, I think it should be done in Arabic and Hebrew. He says, I agree with you. Let's go for it. So we started working, me and Joel Touma, the co-screenwriter. And a month later, the Hezbollah-Israeli war started. And, you know, I live in Beirut. I lived in Beirut at that time. And the war with Hezbollah was in Dahieh, which is about 1,000 meters away from my house. So close. It was such an intense war, we actually thought it would not be worth it for us to continue doing the story. It's too difficult. We were watching live TV what was going on, and we had to go back and concentrate on the script. It was almost impossible. But then we escaped to the mountains, stayed a couple of days, went back. 33 days later, the war was over, and then we launched the script again. And 9 months later, we finished it.
Tell us the story, because when you get some indication of it from the trailer, this is a doctor madly in love with his wife.
Modern wife.
Modern wife.
Christian.
Christian.
Sexy.
Sexy.
Educated.
Educated.
From bourgeoisie from Nazareth.
Yeah.
Basically, all her profile does not match any profile of what you would consider typical suicide bomber. She didn't come from a refugee camp. She's not Muslim, not veiled, which is the whole intrigue. How could a woman who have that background commit such a horrific act? Which what propels the protagonist, Amin Jafari, an Israeli-Palestinian, to want to understand why. How come I didn't see it coming? How could you be married for somebody for 15 years and never know what was going on? Which is propels him to go back to his roots, look for the perpetrators, whom he believed were going to be the perpetrators, only to find out that the truth is a lot bigger than what he thought.
So how could he not have known? Is there an easy answer to that?
I'm glad you're asking that question. You cannot know. When somebody is very caught in his career, very successful, and he's, you know, a doctor swear, he takes the Hippocratic oath, you are into saving lives. That's your priority. That's your number one. You could not know because in the film we say maybe he was too caught in his career, or maybe he tried to build this bubble, to build a perfect family in a non-perfect world. What we're trying to say is, if you try to get away from this conflict, the Israeli-Palestinian issue, if you try to pretend that it's not there, it will eventually come back from the back door and hit you where you expect it the least. And this is what happens to him. It's this whole trip about this inner voyage to understand why.
And also it's about how he changed.
Of course he changed. I changed.
You changed?
In my life I've changed. A lot.
Wait, simply because...
Because I hated Jews.
You hated Jews?
Totally. Hated Israelis.
And what made you change?
Look, you making this film is also about the film, but also there's something that goes along in my own personal life. You know, I grew up in Beirut. I witnessed the 67 war, the Yom Kippur War. I was young. 1982 war, Sabra Shatila, and so and so.
Right.
So in 82, it was time for me to leave. I graduated. The situation was really bad in Beirut. And I wanted to go study film in the United States. And I remember in 82 when I left and I came to Los Angeles, I was, what do you expect from a child? Child who grew up in the war being fed anti-Israeli feelings. Whether they are justified or not, it's a different topic. But I was very, very hostile to everything we call Yehudi. In Arabic, when you say Yehudi, the Lebanese, the Arab mix the word Yehudi and Israelis. They would not make a difference. Yehudi, Jew means both.
Right.
So I came to the States to study, and we've witnessed a lot of things that did not make me necessarily sympathetic to I didn't think Jews had a narrative. I didn't think the Jews had a side of the story. How could they? Look what they are doing. And then you go into college, you attend school, and then you're with people your age, and you start to understand, and something happens along that long process where this mystification of the Israelis started to come down. And then you start slowly, it's a slow process. I'm sitting talking to you about it right now, but it took years in the making. And you start to understand that maybe they have a point of view, they have a perspective, they have a narrative. You see, I didn't think Israeli had a narrative. I didn't think they deserved one. How could you? Growing up, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 years old, trying to understand the other perspective, I couldn't do it. And then years go by, and then you start exchanging ideas. I might disagree with them. I might still look at the occupation from its... We have to be objective. I did not forget.
Right.
But at the same time, you start to see that they are as fragile as I am. They are as insecure as I am. Wow, a few years ago, I thought that we're the bulletproof F-16 gung-ho about using their weapon indiscriminately. And there was the Goliath, and I was the David. And now suddenly in college, you sit down and you say they are just as David as I am. And then, I remember, Charlie, something very, very perturbing that happens. I sat down in my documentary class. My teacher is Michael Reel at San Diego State. And he showed us a film called Night and Fog by Alain Resnais, Nuit et Brouillard.
Right.
I don't know if you know the film.
I do.
What was perturbing is not the film. It's its effect on me. I was sitting and feeling a lot of empathy. It was weird. You understand?
Yes.
Because I was not raised that way. I did not grow up where you can empathize with your enemy. This film that I went to do 15 years ago, if you asked me to make it, I would not have been able to make it. It's impossible. I had to cross that bridge. I had to go, be pragmatic about it, and deal with Israelis. Deal with the enemy that occupied that bomb, that did ta-ta-ta-ta-ta. The list is huge. It's a big list. I had to sit down and find out that those guys that I hated existentially are actually working, going out on a limb to help me make this movie. The money was not an issue. Whatever it was, you cannot come out of this experience indifferent.
What's the response in Lebanon?
Terrible.
Terrible.
Well, the film is banned.
Yeah.
The film has not even played yet. But when the news said that Ziad Doueri went to Israel to film with the Israeli actors, it was automatically banned because I actually broke the law. It's a 1955 law in Lebanon that forbids any Lebanese citizen to be in any contact with it. Suppose you're an Israeli and I'm with you right now,
Right.
I could be arrested. But what kind of...
By whom?
By the Lebanese authority.
For
It's
talking
illegal.
to an Israeli, suppose I
That's
was an
right.
Israeli, or being interviewed by an Israeli.
Absolutely. That is, actually,
Against the law.
It's totally against the law. And it's just as a legal problem as it's a political problem. I went to Beirut 2 weeks ago.
Don't Lebanese business people do this all the time?
They do it all the time. It happens all the time. It's just that they don't do it in public.
Right.
You understand? I mean, and me being very known in Lebanon as a filmmaker, that was even a bigger scrutiny about it. And I'm very upset, very, very upset, because I think that the law should exclude people who go to films.
Yeah.
We're doing movies. We're not doing politics. We're not doing, they are not looking at it the right way. And I'm very upset about it.
Okay, so
Planning to contest it too.
contest it.
I'm going
now,
next
what
week.
about France, and what about...
It's
your other place that you're a citizen of?
It's sold all over Europe. It's sold. It has a U.S. distribution deal.
You submitted for awards last year, or?
When it was at Telluride in Toronto, a lot of people said, why don't you submit it to the Oscar? Because we think it's up there.
For Best Foreign Film?
For Best Foreign Film. So I went back to the Lebanese government. I talked to the Ministry of Culture, and they said, we can't. I say, why? They say, we can't have a film that has Israeli actors represent Lebanon. I said, but where is the issue? This is a political decision. She says, we just can't. So it was banned.
Did you anticipate all this problem when you hired?
I did. Totally, I did. I mean, I knew from the start. Look, my mom is a lawyer. Just a couple of months before I traveled, she took me to this. I said, Ziad, is there a chance you can avoid this whole legal quagmire and try to shoot it in Egypt or Turkey or Cyprus or Tunisia? Right. I went scouting. But no city looks like Tel Aviv. Tel Aviv is a very peculiar city. It has very geometric, very modern, and we needed that. And then after thinking about it, I said, no, I'm going to go to Tel Aviv. She says, okay, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to write a letter and send it to the Lebanese Army Secret Service, because this matter is handled by the army, the military tribunal, not the civil tribunal, because we are a state of war. And then she said, why don't we write them a letter and you tell them exactly what you want to do? That way they don't think you're going behind their back. They don't think you're spying for the Israelis, because it's serious stuff. So we wrote them a letter, and we told them what we want to do. And the last phrase that my mom wrote in the letter, she says, we are waiting for your guidance, so how we should proceed. So my mom said, that way we'll throw the ball in their court. We're informing the Lebanese government that Ziad Doueiri is going to Israel.
It's about deception.
That's right.
About deception.
That's right. Could you know somebody as much as you think you know? These are all the layers we try to put in the
Why did she do it?
So, it's a good question. We've tried during the writing to try to pin it down to one reason. So we said, what if, you see in film, you kind of sort of have to give your spectator a motive for your characters. I sat down with Joanne and we said, what if theoretically she did it because she couldn't pregnant and she had to live with this complex? What if she did it because she was born on an Israeli checkpoint and her mom died? We put it as a possibility. What if she did it because she screwed up her life? She had messed up her careers and she feels worthless. What if she did it because she was bipolar? What if she was psychotic? I wrote a scene in which her husband is trying to talk to her psychiatrist. She says, what do you know about her? And then we find out, the more we tried to pin it down to one reason, the more it made the character banal. It just would not work. It made it very one-dimensional. And then finally we thought, how about if we gather all those reasons and we toss it to the audience and we let speculation around her build that character. It's not why she did it, it's what people think she did it. We reversed it. So the Israeli liberal left, how would they interpret an act like this? An Israeli right military, how would they expect that? A Palestinian, how he would interpret her action? We kept on floating in that idea, and then finally we said, how about if we have her buried with her mysteries? It's more interesting. It's more nuanced. And the question is, do you really commit an act as horrendous as that just for one reason? I don't think you would. I personally don't think. Let's see, if you are working for the cause, you would gather money, you would kill Israeli soldier, you would do something military. But to be able to blow kids in a restaurant and kill yourself in it is not only for the cause. I'm absolutely convinced today, if you do a psychology test with one of those suicide bombers who were caught before they act, and you do very in-depth analysis, it's never just about the cause. There are a lot of layers hidden. Why motivate people to do such a crazy thing? So we decided that this is how we're going to take the story. She did it for so many other reasons, but we don't know which one. And her husband will never totally understand why.
And that'll haunt him all his life.
This is how the film ends. This is the whole thing. The guilt.
The movie's called The Attack. It opens on Friday, June 21st. It's adapted from the Algerian writer Yasmina Khadra, her international bestseller of the same name, Ziad Doueiri. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to have you in the program.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. See you next time.